to the World Space Week podcast for 2011.
I'm Elf.
And I'm Haritina Mogosanu, Manager of Educational Relations for the World Space Week Association.
To celebrate World Space Week 2011, we've put together a series of podcasts to excite and enthrall you with the most interesting space stories from across the globe.
And our guests from today are Talia Page, Executive Director of the World Space Week Association, and Stanislav, who won the World Space Week Zero-G competition. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to be here. Hello from Las Vegas.
Talia, how successful was World Space Week in 2011?
It seems like it's been a great success. I've been mostly focusing on the YIP program, our Youth Inspiration Program, Stanislav's Zero-G flight. But from the calendar, it looks like there are a lot of events across the world. Normally we have events in around 50 to 60 countries, and every year it grows. And it looks like it's been growing this year. So I would say it's been wonderful.
Bearing in mind that it's coming to the end of World Space Week as we record this, what's happening in space and the world of space exploration and all things astronomical over the next 12 months? What will sustain us through to next World Space Week?
Well, that's a good question. I think there's a lot going on, and of course it depends regionally. Of course, there's Yuri's Night. They're partners with World Space Week, and they're about, halfway through the year. That's always something that I like to focus on. That's my halfway point to World Space Week, and we share a lot of participants and even some volunteers. That's something I would recommend. But of course, there's all sorts of things depending on your region.
What people can do to stay up to date with space events throughout the year? Where should they go and have a look?
I would recommend following World Space Week on Twitter and joining our group page on Facebook, and also on our website at the bottom of the homepage. There's a mailing list. And I'll just mention that we don't spam anyone. We only send out, a few updates as the year goes on, sort of about how to get ready, what we can recommend, what our new poster is, how people can be involved. So I would recommend signing up for that mailing list.
So bearing that in mind, what is World Space Week's role in communicating what's going on in space all year round?
Our focus is really on this 1 week. Of course, we have a lot of materials for schools in multiple languages available. So education is a big focus of ours. And of course, we think space should be promoted, within education in schools all year round. But really, we focus on this, gearing up towards this 1 week. It's a pretty big week. It takes all year.
It does.
If you're more organized than us, it does.
A tough question. What's in your opinion? What does humanity need to do to ensure a bright future in space?
That's an excellent question. And actually, I would like to give that question to Stan, since he is going to be a young physicist who will be taking charge of those kinds of big questions. He's going to be studying physics at the university next year, and I think he's a wonderful person to answer that question for you. He's our future in the space industry.
I'm sure that humanity must continue with the basic research in physics and mathematics, astrophysics, all these basic areas that eventually ensure development of technologies that enable people to travel in space and live in space. I'm also sure that people should not shorten the budgets of agencies, because those are these who actually travel to space and make the probes existing and the launch vehicles existing. So probably shortening budgets of space agencies is not really a good track that humanity should follow. So I'm sure that we should focus on basic research and its applications in form of launch vehicles and vehicles that can manned or unmanned travel in space.
I would just add one thing to that I think international cooperation across countries is going to be very important. Collaborative programs and activities, I think, is going to be essential for the future of space and research.
So I guess we should probably introduce Stan and why he's part of this podcast. Talia, do you want to lead us into explain why Stan's here and what the competition was?
Sure, I'd be happy to. We have a program called the Youth Inspiration Program. The chairman this year was Damian Balicki, and he raised funds and really organized the program. And so what we did, we had one sponsor who is Tom Hanks through his company Playtone, who sponsored Stan. We had a worldwide contest. National coordinators in about 60 countries were each able to hold a national competition. Through that national competition, they selected one person, and then there was a committee who received the final students that were selected. They each wrote essays, and they each submitted a CV and a letter of recommendation from the board that selected them within their home country. It was a hard decision, but Stan's essay was really impressive, and so is his CV. He's been around the world already. He's only 18, but he's been to Thailand, to Beijing, so many other countries, winning physics competitions. And he seems like such an inspiration to his fellow students and is enthusiastic and seems to have a very bright future in the industry. So we were very pleased to be able to bring him to the States and host him on the Zero-G competition. We have great confidence that he'll contribute to the industry in the future, and that's why we chose him.
That's great. Stan, what points did you make in your essay that you think it made to the winning entry?
I'm not sure exactly which aspects of my essay were those who convinced the board of judges, but I basically described what I did in past and what I would like to accomplish in the future. That's what I did.
So what do you want to accomplish in the future, Stan?
And in future, I would like to become a theoretical physicist and to work on basic research in theoretical physics. Especially, I would like to focus on gravitational physics, which is closely related to space, as gravitational physics takes place in space. I would like to be a cosmologist, most probably.
You're well on the way, Stan. Good on you. So why did you want to enter the competition?
Well, my primary motivation was the Zero-G flight itself, because it is really one-of-a-kind opportunity in life. It was the first chance and the last chance in my life during which I can experience such state like weightlessness. So that was the primary motivation. Yeah, that was it, because I wanted to experience weightlessness.
So I understood you've already done the flight? Have you been through it?
Yeah, I've already done the flight several hours ago.
So how do you feel?
To be honest, I'm really glad that I could have been participant of the Zero-G flight, because it was really a remarkable chance.
So how was it? Can you tell us about the flight itself? What happened during that time?
In a particular hotel in Las Vegas, there was a meeting and some pre-flight session during which we were the rules and restrictions during the flight, and also some helpful hints were told, and how we should behave during the flight and how we will feel, and if there is some risk of being sick during the flight and those things. Then we were carried to the airport, and it was like a normal flight, and there was a police, and we had a boarding pass, and we had to go through the check. So it was like a normal flight, except that we were not going from the airport building itself, just by stairs to the airplane. So that was it, and then we were flying for half an hour in a straight line above the desert, and we were reaching the height that was necessary for the flight, because the flight itself consists of several parabolas. To be precise, it's 15 parabolas, and during those parabolas, in the very top part of the parabola, you feel like gravity is being reversed or decreased in a certain level, depends on what is the radius and what is the speed on the top of the parabola. So those 15 parabolas are divided into three types. The first parabola is Mars-like, so you feel gravity which you would feel eventually being on Mars. And that was the worst parabola for me, because it was the first feeling of losing gravity, and it's really a peculiar feeling. So it was the worst parabola of all. And then there were two moon-like parabolas, during which you would feel like being on moon. So most likely 1/6 of normal gravity force. And then the rest 12 parabolas were truly weightless. 12 next parabola. It wasn't balanced so well. Therefore, there was some kind of microgravity, so you were pushed towards one of the walls eventually, but up to a certain level, there was weightlessness. So that was it. And then we were seated again and then carried to the airport. Yeah, and during each parabola, there were 30 seconds of weightlessness, so 7 minutes in total.
How did you feel, like inside? How was it when you started floating?
Well, you know that feeling when you're riding on the highway and there is a bump and you're with your car riding over the bump, the shivering in your stomach. So that's it, but longer and much more intensified. So that's basically the feeling. But you can get used to it after several parabolas. It wasn't any difference for me being under the 2G when we were going up or weightlessness. It was almost the same. There wasn't anything like the previous feeling during the first parabola. It was a shock. The first parabola was a shock, but the others were okay. It felt like it was incredible because I was walking on the roof and rotating in empty space. this aspect was really incredible, but the changing of gravity force, I didn't feel it very intensively after several parabolas.
Talia, I guess the next question is for you. Is there going to be a similar competition in years to come?
Yes. We aim to do this every year, and of course it depends on sponsorships, but the committee has already started working on it for next year. It looks like we'll have at least 2 people for the flight next year, and we hope to have many more.
So who can participate in these?
High school students. The aim is it's called the Youth Inspiration Project or program, and so the idea is to inspire young people. So students between, I believe it's the age of 15 and 18, can apply in their home countries.
Cool.
Yeah, the national coordinators, they're each given the opportunity to run a competition. There are no specific rules on the competition. It's something that, depending on the resources and interests, varies by country. So it's something to keep an eye out on. And there's a page on our website called YIP, YIP. We'll probably have more details in another few months.